Christmassy yet?
To a degree. I think so, yeah. I like the run up to it, as you know. Hang on, before we start. Welcome to edition 96 of All Killa, No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because of mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
Genuinely thought you were going to make an effort and sing that then?
Absolutely not. What do you think this is?
Someone out there's made a remix of that already, you know.
Of what?
Of you being like, welcome to the All Killa, No Filla podcast.
Yes, somebody will have done, yeah. I mean, people have got too much fucking time on their hands. I tell you, he's got. I know I've been whinging about this a lot. I tell you, must have a lot of time on their hands of people that are not paying my invoices.
Still,
fucking sick of these cunts, man.
Can I just commend someone who's fucking brilliant at paying? Sometimes it's in your money the same night you've done it. She's a frog and bucket.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, Jess. Jess at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester pays you bang straight away because it's mad that, innit? It's like it's 2022. It's almost as if we've got banks on our phones.
Yeah. She'll literally do it from her phone while you're there. She's like, I've done the settlement, it's this. And you're like, oh, God, delightful.
Yeah, so it's like I know when people pay early and I'm sitting there going, well, I know you've got that money. So you fucking give me my money. I'm just, you know what it is? Tired of it. And what I will say as well, I know I'm going on about this and it is Christmas. I don't want to sound like fucking, I don't know, Oliver Twist or something. Or Bob Cratchit, that's a better one for Christmas. As a working class person who's worked since I was 16, I am always, in my mind, one payment away from the shit hitting the fan.
Yeah. And
it's like, people assume, you know, stuff about your life or what you have to pay out and things like that. And I think there's a culture of, well, comedians. I don't know. It's just annoying. I'm not going to moan about it anymore. And it's just you know what it is a lot of the time? I'm sure it's a power trip.
I think it's more likely to be incompetence.
But you see, it's like, if you're on a salary as well, because I've had both jobs, haven't I? I've had salary, I've been self-employed. I know what it's like, but, you know, people just sit there on a salary, and when you ask for money, it's like your money that you've done a job for. If a builder came to your house and did something and you went, I'll pay you in 6 months, they'd be like, you fucking what?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And I just don't know. I mean, my last point on this is how people want working class people to thrive in this industry from the start. I mean, because I had jobs when I started out in stand-up. How people, you know, people have bills to pay. It's, I'm fucking sick of it. It's all reverting back to how it was anyway. I'm sick of, bored of everything. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. I hope you're all right. You just sound really dejected with it all, yeah.
No, I'm fine. I'm just fucking... You know what I'm sick of? And I'm going to say it. I'm sick of being at the behest of middle-class cunts. Because that's what it is.
But thank you for doing the podcast with me this morning.
No, it is. I'm just tired of it. Nothing changes within the arts industry. Will always be, oh, thank you so much for... and where... You're from the north, are you? Yeah, I am. Believe it or not. Every day, you know, meet people within comedy, and they'll be like, are you from Manchester? And are you going back tonight? No, I fucking live in London because you've made it like this.
Yeah.
How much more what do you think I've come down here for a little chat with you for half an hour? Anyway, the point is, Merry Christmas. You're feeling Christmassy, you like it? Yes,
and I'm sat in a room that I decorated last night, so I'm feeling very Christmassy. The little, as we call it, bar and grill. We'll have to beep some of that, but I don't know who came up with that name.
I can't remember.
But yes.
I think it might have been a collaboration.
Yeah. There's, obviously I'm looking at the Cherrywood sign saying bar and grill that your partner bought for this room, because my partner started doing a bit where he's like, welcome to the bar and grill, where women eat steaks free on a Wednesday. And just every time we came back into the room, he had a sort of a different bit. And it was very funny.
It was very funny.
And every now and then he'll talk about the bar and grill like it's still a thing.
The weird thing is, you know, the bar and grill got so much into the imagination and was so much of an in-joke that when the pandemic hit, I thought, bar and grill's going to be all right.
Well, weirdly, yesterday he uncovered, when we were tidying this room, a eat out to help out window decal.
Did it?
Yeah, which he must have pilfered from his job at the time, because he was working over the pandemic in a cafe. And part of me wants to stick it on the door.
Oh my God, you've got to do that. I don't, actually, you should save that. That'll be, give it about 5 years, someone will really want to collect that.
Well, he genuinely was like, oh, it's probably worth it now, especially now he's the Prime Minister. Isn't it unbelievable that Rishi bought his way into our hearts with side dishes?
Well, he didn't buy his way into my fucking heart, let me tell you that for free. Or
the voting members of the Conservative Party, because they would have voted for Boris over him because they don't want a brown Prime Minister.
One thing about people that really annoys me is like something about Rishi Sunak. Someone did a tweet saying, you know what, Rishi Sunak, one thing you shouldn't do about him, regardless of him being a Tory, don't height shame him. Oh, fuck off. You know what? Don't height shame him. If he wants to look a bit taller, maybe like stand on some piles of his wife's money.
Also, I sort of feel like so many members of the Tory party are bereft of the feeling of shame. We ought to try everything we can to get them to feel something.
The Rishi Sunak, that I couldn't even give a fuck that he's under average height. Who gives a shit? In fact, we're probably in the same fucking club, aren't we?
I don't think he's under 5 foot.
No, I think he's like 5'6". It's tiny. But, I don't height shame him. It's like, oh, please. Sometimes somebody's just describing somebody. Someone might be saying, the little petite Tory over there. Little Rishi.
But how do you feel when you get reviews and they describe you as diminutive? Has that ever happened?
No, it's happened once by some fucking incel. But when it happens to me, it's always a man that does it. It's only happened a couple of times, but when it has happened to me, it was a man who clearly has issues with women, who actually, now it has come out, because I said about this person, I said, I don't want them reviewing my show. And funnily enough, the person I said it to said, that's interesting, a lot of women have said they don't want him in there either. So, it's weird. I'm not, I think it...
Is that...
No. Huh. It bothers other people more than me about my height. I don't even mention it. I don't even think about it. That's the assumption, isn't it? It's like, you're assuming that Rishi Sunak's upset about his fucking height. He probably doesn't give a fucking shit. The man's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Speaking of little men...
Richer than the Crown. Richer than King Charles.
A lot of people are.
Yeah, true.
So, speaking of little men...
yeah, he was quite small, wasn't he?
5'3", I think.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember. He did a tweet about it years ago. It really fucking cracked me up. It was this tweet that went viral, and it said... Just found out that Charles Manson was 5'3". Why didn't someone just knock him out? Funny that.
Do you know what? When I was looking for information about him, a thing that sort of came up a lot, it's like, oh, you're searching for this? When Google's a fucking little know-it-all. And it was his IQ, which is rumoured to be quite high. I think... Excuse me. The IQ thing is, some of the people on that list, I think it's absolute fucking hooey. I think if you have a decent PR that you're paying, like £500,000 a year or whatever, I think that part of the thing is like, let's get out there that you've got a really high IQ. It's a standard thing that we do. Like, everyone has a high IQ, except noticeably one person. So they say the average IQ is like 100, right? And so like, Charles Manson's meant to be like about 140. I think Beyonce is like 160. Madonna was like 140. Guess the only person on there. Because I was just like, when Google's like, oh, and this one, and this one, and this one, clicking through the names, and I'm like, oh, God, they're all got high IQs, right? Guess there's the one who was snuggled in the middle who had a IQ of 95, so below average. No shade. Is Katy Perry.
Which, again, this is why I think IQ is stupid, because the woman's written all her own songs, made her own career, clearly not a fucking duffer.
Came out recently as very pro-Trump or pro-Republican, and yeah.
Yeah, but that's political. Someone's
also dated Russell Brand. I'd say that's.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's probably. In fact, she had a higher IQ before that. It's actually knocked it down. IQ stupid. Like, it's like, the other thing is, when someone goes, "Oh, here's you see an IQ test," I look at it and I go, I can't be arsed with that. It's not that. I couldn't give a fuck about how many triangles do you see in this, and I'm not interested. So I just feel, you know what I am? I'm above IQ testing. So maybe I've got the world's highest IQ because I'm not interested in your bullshit.
It tests one type of intelligence. There's, various theories about multiple intelligence. Also, it'll be like, it's been proven in America that if you tell black kids that they're going to get an IQ test, they underperform because they've ingested the idea that they are not academically able. Whereas if you say it's a puzzle and give them the same test, they'll do just as well as their white counterparts. So it's all sorts of bullshit in it. And again, before anyone writes in about going, I got an IQ of 95 and I felt shame. Listen, I have had basically an IQ test for my ADHD, and there's some bits in which I'm fucking, like, technically have quite severe learning difficulties. So I'm definitely lower than Katy Perry, let's put it that way.
You mean for any men write in to let us know?
Yes, a very long, sort of like 8-paragraph email that you will get to the first 4 lines off and go, can't we ask for fucking this, and forward it on to me, and then I'll judiciously decide not to reply.
This is why you can't contact me on anything whatsoever.
Yeah, but they just fucking contact me and go, can you ask Rachel this? Can you do this?
No, don't ask me anything. This is it. If you want to ask me something, what really do you want to ask me? What is it that you really want? Oh, but like when you do questions on Instagram, most people are jolly and you have a laugh, but there's always some cunt who tries to catch you out with something like a political question. It's like, I'm not a politician, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
I'm a comedian. Here's the other thing as well that really fucks me off about people. It's mainly middle-class people that do this. They'll ask me, if you do questions on Instagram, they'll ask you a question. And this is what's happening now in society. If you work in class with a regional accent, people automatically assume that you're some conservative because that's how it goes now. It's like, well, I'm not. I'm one of the most fucking liberal people you would meet. I'm from a family of trade unionists. My grandparents went on one of the first Pride marches in Manchester. My earliest memories are supporting people that were on strikes and stuff. And people will message me going, what do you... And it's like, no, I know what you're doing here. You assume because I'm forthright and I don't pander to certain people that you think you know about what I am, and you don't. It's the...
what kind of thing are they saying?
No, well, I'm not going to go into it because then people will message me, but I know what people are like, and they'll go, oh, and someone will say about me, because I'm forthright, because I believe what I believe in, and, I'm very... What's the word? Because of how I sound, people make assumptions about me, and it's quite boring. So it's like, do you support this? It's like, what kind of a fucking question is this? You're trying to catch me out. Because it's always, you can tell, it's always middle-class people who have made an assumption about me and run with that. And it's boring, actually. It's weird how people make assumptions about who I am and what I am. And I just think it's very weird when people get in touch with you about something.
Is it not that they respect you and they want to know, because it might be an issue where there's lots of differing opinions and everyone's equally passionate? Okay.
First of all, my opinion shouldn't matter. But secondly, if you ask me a question about Oasis, that's an opinion that matters, right? Secondly, I have lived in this world long enough and come into contact with enough people to know what's being... I'm very astute, and I'm not paranoid. I know what people are doing. People, a lot of the time, because my accent will assume that I'm stupid, they will talk down to me. Then there's been a woman, that's another thing that they'll make assumptions about. But I know what people are doing. And I've blocked a lot of people for doing stuff like that.
Asking you what you think about stuff? Yeah,
but it's done in a certain way, and it's very hard for me to describe, but when it happens again, I'll show you. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm just fucking sick of everyone, is the bottom line. Charles Manson was described as deeply antisocial.
Yeah.
I know how he fucking feels, the little lad.
Well, we should start talking about him.
Charles Manson, funny middle name. He was born in Cincinnati in Ohio in 1934. His jobs are cult leader and musician. The Manson family. He started the Manson family, of which we will get onto later. They were based in California in the late 1960s. Now, this is the thing about Charles Manson. He's not actually a serial killer or a murderer. He is a cult leader, and some of his members committed 9 murders in 4 locations in July and August 1969. Now, before he became a cult leader, he spent more than half his early life in correctional institutions. He was born to 15-year-old Kathleen Manson. She was 15 years old when she had him. She was born in 1919. His father is thought to be a man called Colonel Walker Henderson Scott Sr. Pick one name, stick with it. He was from Kentucky, but we must say he wasn't actually an army colonel. That was just his name.
Yeah, very unusual Christian name, Colonel, isn't it? He was stationed nearby when Kathleen was she was about 16 years old. Now, Kathleen was the youngest of 5. She was born on January the 11th. It says 1918 here, but obviously it's always fast and loose with years about this time. Now, her older brother, Luther, and her would always get in trouble because they're from a very religious conservative family. Dad was a conductor on the railroad, and they were just sort of like, when she was interviewed in like the 70s, she referred to herself as a bit of a wild child. And basically her and Luther would sneak out and they would go to parties. Luther comes up again and again in this story because he's quite a big part of Charles's life. So obviously she was closest to that brother. Her extended family go on to say that she was involved in sex work. But she was like, and that's how she basically became pregnant with Charles Manson. But she was like, no, I was just a really stupid kid who was sneaking out, met this, army guy one night, had sex with him, didn't think there'd be repercussions, and there were. Now, when her mum found out that she was pregnant, she sent her away, as was so often the case with unwedded girls at that time. She was sent away to Cincinnati. Now, while she's there, she meets William Manson, and she marries him in 1934. So she's about 6 months along at this point. Mm-hmm. Now, a very weird detail is that for a little while, Charles Manson has no name because she was trying to win, Kathleen was trying to win her mum over. So she was like, I'm not going to name the baby. So on his birth certificate, it's name unknown Manson. So she takes, even though William Manson isn't his biological father, that's who appears on his birth certificate. But she said, the reason I put that is because I wanted to sort of win my mum over and say, well, I want you to name the boy and to be sort of invested in him. So she comes along and says, right, okay, well, I would love it if he was named after your father, who was Charles Millers. And so she went for Charles Miller Manson was his full name. Now, the marriage doesn't last very long to William. They were together about, a couple of years. This is a divorced after 3, but they were together properly for about a year. He has no memories of his father, his biological father, or the father who raised him for a little bit. Weirdly, though, there's different sources. So Colonel Walker Henderson Scott Sr., his biological father, apparently found out that Kathleen was pregnant and fucking did a runner. And that was it. But there's other people who said, no, he's quite involved or active in Charles Manson's life before he died in 1954 of, I think he died of cancer. So
that's nice of him to put in an appearance.
Well, I don't know which one it is.
Towards the end.
Sometimes, with these things, I'm like, do they pick the most delicious story over what actually happened? And the most delicious story is he does a runner and leaves this teenage runaway to have a baby.
Well, I think he clearly did. She got married when she was pregnant to someone else, so I would say that he did do a runner. But I think maybe he did come back towards the end of his life because, people do that, don't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Like when, for example, I've got a friend whose father left her mother when she was pregnant with her. And then when she was 21 years old, he was like, oh, hi, I'm back. Sorry, you've done nothing, mate.
Fucking hell.
You've done nothing. If you're back with a bit of money for me mum.
Yeah. Let's
go for it.
That child benefit. Not child benefit, whatever's maintenance. So when they divorce, Kathleen moves back to Kentucky and goes and lives with her mother. But Kathleen is plagued with problems because she's got issues with alcohol, and she would often, as a result, not take the best care of Charles. She'd sort of leave him with kind of anyone who would look after him for a few hours, and then she'd go bar hopping and go meet guys.
Her and her brother Luther, they'd go out drinking together.
Yes.
She gets divorced in 1937, but Charles keeps the surname Manson. Probably just easier. Then, on August the 1st, 1939, Kathleen and Luther, they're sent to prison for, I think it was an armed robbery, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Which I imagine they did hammered. Kathleen gets 5 years, Luther gets 10 years.
So Manson is only 5 years old when his mum goes to jail. Now, basically, it's a crime that she commits with her brother Luther. So they met this guy called Frank Martin, and she's mates with him, and she's like, I think I want to rob him. Do you want to give me a hand? To her brother. He was like, yeah, fine. So his brother's like, right, we need to make it look like we've got a gun. So he gets a ketchup bottle and he fills it with salt. I don't know why the salt would make a difference. And then he pushes it into Frank's back and was like, I've got a gun here.
Oh, I guess it makes it feel heavier.
Yeah, but would you, if it's just pushed against your back, it would feel heavier for Luther holding.
Yeah, but I think if someone's put a gun in your back, you might think, that's a bit lighter than it's meant to be.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so he pushes it into his back and says, give me all your money. Now, he's only got $27 on him. So they take the $27 and then he smashes the bottle over his head.
But he sees him to death.
Well, this is the weird thing. Imagine waking up with an excruciating headache, being like, why am I covered in salt? Like
oh my God, am I a slug?
You'd be like, I remember being robbed, but why the fuck am I covered in salt? And they literally, obviously the police found them within hours. Because it was like, oh yeah, I was with my friend and she brought her brother and then he tried to rob me.
Well, I heard they were very easy to catch up with.
Oh, fuck that. No, Rachel.
Quick.
So this is when Charles gets sent to live with his Uncle Bill, Aunt Glenna, and his cousin Joanne, and that's in Washington, Virginia. And they're very strict and they give him a lot of discipline, but he doesn't respond particularly well to it.
Interesting.
There's a rumour that, oh God, sorry. When Charles was very little, Kathleen was in a cafe with baby Charles and was chatting to a waitress who was admiring how cute Charles was. Maybe
but
he was
what town was he, an ugly babysitter?
He's quite a cute baby. He's got very piercing eyes though. And she was going, oh, I'm so broody, I can't wait to have a baby. And Kathleen went, I'll swap you him for a pitcher of beer. And the woman laughs.
In my mind that night I just was laughing. I was like, she's that much of a boozer. She doesn't mean a picture. She means just a picture.
Laminated picture she can have with him.
Oh, lovely.
So the waitress is like, ha ha ha. Likes her chat and so brings her a pitcher of beer anyway. Anyway, at the end, Kathleen gets up and just leaves Charles there. So he's there for a few days. And
well, look, this is no different to what David Cameron did with his children in that pub. So I'm not going to judge the girl.
Well, it's the uncle again, Uncle Luther, who's like, I'm going to go and fucking find wherever you left this child, and spends about 2-3 days, and then finally finds him and takes him back home. So that was sort of like quite a big moment in his life. So he says when Kathleen was released from prison, because she only served 3 years, even though the sentence was longer, she gave Manson a hug, and he says, this is my only happy memory from childhood. And then what happened is his mum would sort of rent cheap motel rooms, and they'd hop around from, hotel room to hotel room, trying to survive. But he was about 12 years old, and then she was like, no, do you know what, I'm going to try and get him into foster care because I don't have the support to be able to care for him. There's a few things that stand out from his childhood. Do you know about this thing about him wearing a dress to school?
No.
Right. So he's 5 years old, he's in school, and basically I think the kids were making fun of him, and it was something to do with his mum. Or either her behaviour or the fact that she was in prison, but he was only a babby. And the teacher was making shitty comments as well. And he cries in front of the class and sort of runs home. So he tells his uncle about that, who he's living with at the time. So this is in West Virginia, sorry. And then he went, okay, well, if you're going to be a sissy and you're going to cry, then we'll show people what kind of person you are. And he forces him to put on his cousin Joanne's dress and go to school the next day in a dress.
That's helpful.
And yeah, and it was like, this is your way of making sure that you never act like that again, never show any sort of emotion. How unbelievably fucked up is that?
Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. I mean, fucking people are mad.
Well, he has like no stability. He's got a young mum who's got alcohol problems. She's, spending some of his childhood in prison. He stays with his uncle and auntie who are ultra-religious again. He doesn't respond particularly well to that. He's got an uncle who makes him wear a dress to school as a form of punishment. Oh, God. Now, there's a really sad story here where there's not much money growing up. And this is quite festive. It's Christmas. And he gets one present. And that one present is a Superman hairbrush. Like the one from the song. What an absolute fucking tune that is.
No.
Do people I would bet no one knows what that is now under.
Do you know why I hate that song? So I'd say one of my earliest memories is when I was in nursery school, they used to put that on in some afternoons and everyone used to dance to it, and I remember even being small thinking, this is embarrassing. Like that first thing of like, oh no, I'm not doing that.
That's so funny.
Embarrassing. I don't even know who sang that. So
is it not a Black Lace thing?
Is it Black Lace? Well, because it would be them, and then Agadoo would come on or some shit like that.
Yeah, it is. It is Black Lace.
Is it?
Yeah.
So embarrassing.
Black Lace. God, it's. How do you explain what they are if people don't know?
80s like crap.
But they were like a band that would just write sort of songs that you could do at weddings and parties, basically, right?
I'd say
that was sort of the thing. So it was,
I don't think there's any hidden bangers that we're missing.
Let's have a little look at what they... let's delve into the Black Lace. I've got Agadoo, right? They did that?
Yeah.
Okay, so... Hold on, did they do the Birdie song? They must be fucking minted.
Did they do the Birdie song?
One of their hired dancers was then unknown singer Jane MacDonald. Fucking hell. They came up through the northern club circuit. What would you... Yeah, the Birdie song. Fucking hell. Superman, Agadoo, the Conga, Hokey Cokey.
Come on, that one. Come on. Yeah.
I Am the Music Man.
Oh, God. That's another one. No.
1994, Cotton Eye Joe. No.
What, they didn't write that, did they?
They must have covered it, right?
I must have covered... 94?
Yeah.
Cotton Eye Joe came out later than that. Like the...
Well, it says here that they, in 94, that they released Bullshit, brackets Cotton Eye Joe.
Wow.
And also 1997 Macarena, which was definitely a cover.
That's definitely a cover, yeah. Wow.
Wow. Goodness me. It's a weird that they were a sort of band big in the 80s. I've got their party mix on vinyl here that were sort of, they were just sort of unashamed floor fillers for weddings and easy dances that everyone could do. I'm surprised they didn't do Oops Outside Your Head. That's the one where everyone sits on a dirty floor, right?
That as well, yeah.
It always makes me cringe, that.
That's where everyone does that and I don't get involved.
I don't think I've ever done that.
I will watch this from the sidelines. This is not for me.
Is it normal outside of UK weddings of Christian denomination for people to do dance routines? You know, like Wigfield Saturday night.
What, you mean when the bride and groom come in dancing?
I do fucking not mean that, no. I mean
that should be banned, actually.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not religious, but if I was, a religious officiator and they came into my church dancing, I'd be like, get out of here. This is a house of God.
Really?
I think it's a fucking idiot's move. People do that is for people. People who do that, brides and grooms who do that. That's the most interesting moment of their life. That is as interesting as they've ever been and ever will be. They will talk about that all the time until they die.
I agree with you. You've woken up in one fucking glorious mood today, haven't you?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm hungry is what it is. I'm starving. I'm not, and I know it's going to sound awful, I don't feel very well. I've still got I don't know, I've got
Have you caught being a hypochondriac off Tim?
Not, well, if someone says something enough, you start to believe it, don't you? I've got I don't know, I've got a bit of a sore throat. But no, what do you mean you mean in the wedding do where people do wedding songs? Oh
yes.
Yeah, I think every sort of, every wedding do, whatever denomination or whatever, I imagine, it will have, when you have the party, there'll be a certain song in it. I bet every country has a song. Everyone's like, oh, that's the...
I don't know. I don't know if you went to a Danish wedding that you would spend sort of 3 hours sweating through your hair dancing to the cha-cha slide and the Macarena and the Birdie
there'll be
song.
something. There will be. It'll be... based on old folklore, and it'll be, I think definitely. Because I think the main thing is, we're all the bloody same, really. Give people enough booze, they'll bloody dance to anything, won't they? So I reckon...
Do you know what my mission this year is to go to a Kaylee. We did a bit of it when we did the comedy bus for Ian's episode, Ian Sterling.
Oh, yeah.
My mum used to we used to go to Kaylee's all the time because she used to be a sword dancer, you know, very casual. Yeah, so I would absolutely love to go to a Kaylee. It looks fucking boss. And they just teach you the dances anyway, so you just follow whatever they shout.
That'd be easy, wouldn't it? Yeah, be nice,
Yeah.
that. Also, I think, sorry to say this as well, but while I'm on one, weddings... If you have a photo booth at a wedding, no one's enjoying your wedding.
What do you mean?
Oh, for these fucking... When people have photo booths, it's like, oh, hey, pose with an inflatable guitar.
Do you know what I think at weddings are? It's just lots of ways of keeping different people busy.
No, I think it's you finding out that your friends are as boring as you.
I've got a picture of us in a fucking photo booth at a wedding.
Yeah. That's the first time I ever saw one. I'm not saying I don't join in.
You look great in it.
But I just think, oh, photo booths, oh, fucking... You know, people thought, oh, we're getting married, but, you know, we're not going to have seats, we're going to have bales of hay.
Got a whole routine about this.
You know, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just haven't got time for it. Juice Plus Girl got married and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was very disappointed.
Really? Was it
absolutely
tasteful?
fine. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that, but it wasn't what I wanted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
mate.
I did notice that the groom, this bugged me, and this had bugged me if I was the bride. He had the sort of chino type trousers on, but you could see that he had his phone in his pocket.
Oh, I don't like that.
Give it to someone just for the ceremony.
What, you've got pockets, mate? If
Yeah,
you
but-
need to, put it in your inside pocket.
Yeah, he didn't have a jacket on. So he didn't have a jacket on, because he got married abroad, he had like a white linen shirt type thing tucked into these chinos, but you could see the phone in his pocket, and I just thought...
So go... Oh, yeah.
Let someone
really
hold that for just the time that... Who's ringing you? Everyone you know is there. She's not ringing you to pick something up from the shop, is she?
Maybe he's bidding on something on eBay. He's going to get in at the last minute.
Yeah, it's like, I love you and everything, but I just need this table. Where were we?
So I was talking about him in the dress. There's also another thing he does in school where he was very charming to women. He just worked out very young how to charm gals. So one of the things he used to do is any boys that he didn't like, he would sort of convince the women around him, whether that would be his cousins or, you know, whatever, girls at school, to beat them up. And then what would happen is the teachers would, like, question the girls and they go, oh, well, you know, talking about it with Charles and he said I should beat them up. And then Charles would go, I've never heard of that in my life. But the teachers would know that he's a little bullshitter because he was a compulsive liar. He'd lie about absolutely anything. So they were like, oh, yeah, we don't believe you. And he used to say this thing as a teenager, which is what he will later say in court when he's talking about the family. He said, it wasn't me. They were doing what they wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he learned
So he'd learned that he could sort of manipulate people, and that actually what he was doing is just letting them do what they always wanted to do, which is obviously very creepy.
Kathleen meets another man. Mm-hmm. All we know about him is his surname.
I forgot to tell the Superman thing.
Oh, yeah, go on. Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
of course you did, yeah.
Fucking hell, we got distracted by black lace and then slagged off weddings. So there's this hairbrush, and it's a Superman hairbrush, and his nana says, listen, if you brush your hair, you'll be able to take off, but you've got to brush your hair lots, which is a very clever way of getting a child to brush their hair. So he's brushing it, and then the kids, this is the only thing he gets for Christmas, because, like I say, there's no money. So the kids in the local area go, what are you doing, Charles? He says, I'm using my hairbrush because if I brush my hair enough, then I'll be able to fly. And then they all start taking the piss out of him because kids are mean. Mm-hmm. And he takes the hump, obviously, that he's being sort of bullied, goes into the neighbourhood kids' houses, takes their presents, puts them in a massive pile, and he sets fire to it. And you won't hear me say this often, Rachel, but I'm on his side with that one.
Yeah, good. I say good for that, yeah. Fuck them, horrible little shits. Nasty little bastards, aren't they?
Yeah, serves you right for being a fucking bully.
Yeah, fine. It's not often I'll be on his side, but I'm on his side on that one. I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
Good.
This is when he starts going to basically Borstall's, right?
So Kathleen has met another man by this point. His surname is, all we know about him is his surname is Lewis, and she's met him at Alcoholics Anonymous. She marries him in August 1943. Now, in the meantime, she's had convictions for larceny. Now, Manson also, not only did he set fire to his friend's presence, he set fire to his school as well, aged 9. This is according to him. So then in 1947, when he was 13, he was placed in Gibbolt School for Boys in Indiana. It was a very strict school run by Catholic priests. There was punishments for very small things. They'd be beaten with paddles and straps. And he hated it so much that he ran away and he slept rough for a little bit.
Twice?
He managed to get back to his mother, though, and he spends Christmas of 1947 with her. And then she's like, I'm ever so sorry, Charles, you've got to go back to the school. And he does go back to the school. Now, in 1948, this is when we find out his first known crime. This is when he absconds from the school again, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He robs a grocery store. He said that he wanted food, but he found $100 in a cigar box. Now, then he used that money to rent a room somewhere in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And he does all right for a bit. He gets a job. He delivers messages for Western Union. But he starts to think, I need a little bit more money, so I'm going to do a bit of robbing. He does some petty theft. And he gets caught. And the judge is actually very sympathetic to him. And he says, you've got to go to Boys Town Juvenile Facility in Nebraska. Now, 4 days into this, he's met another lad called Blackie Nielsen. And they managed to get away. Now, they managed to get a gun from somewhere. They steal a car. They commit several armed robberies. And then they go to Blackie's uncle. He lives in Illinois. Now, the uncle was a professional thief by all accounts, and he took the two boys on as his apprentices. Now, 2 weeks later, though, during a robbery, Charles Manson is arrested and linked to other robberies, and he's back at the Indiana Boys School. Now, it's horrible, this. He says that he was raped by the other students there and that the students were encouraged to do this by one of the teachers, which is why he ran away 18 times.
But he said that about Gibbolt as well. And by the way, I don't believe him on this stuff. The only thing that makes me not believe him is that he was a compulsive liar, rather than the fact that I believe that at that time that schools would have been safe places for young men. So, he says he was sexually assaulted at Gibbolt School for Boys. It was run by Catholic priests. And he
was.
Yeah. And he said of it once, I know the school is still in operation, but I hope all the warped, sadistic bastards I met there are now dead.
Ooh. So he ran away 18 times from that school, as we know. He developed this defence technique. He called it the insane game. So when he was physically unable to defend himself at the school, he would start to screech, grimace, wave his arms. He would convince anyone who attacked him that he was mad. So people would be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be battering him because there's something wrong with him. He eventually escaped with two other boys in 1951. And they were robbing petrol stations, they stole a car, they decided they were going to go to California. Now, this is where he gets arrested in Utah for driving a stolen car across state lines. He's sent to Washington, D.C. National Training School for Boys. Now, this is where they find out he's illiterate, but he's got a high IQ. And this is where he's deemed aggressively antisocial. In 1951, he's then sent to Natural Bridge School, which is minimum security. Now, his aunt visits him and says, you know what, I'll take him and make sure he finds work. Because he's got a parole hearing sorted for February 1952. So she says to the authorities, I'll take him, I'll make sure he gets a job, I'll put him back on the right track. January 1952, a month before his parole hearing, he's caught raping a boy at knife point, and he's taken to the Federal Reformatory in Virginia. I can't say that word. Federal
Reformatory in Pittsburgh, Virginia.
Thank you. He gets a further 8 disciplinaries for sexual
homosexual crimes.
3.
I don't think even that it's the fact that it was at knife point. I think the fact that it was gay.
Yeah, well, the 3 homosexual acts, as they put it, that he was given a disciplinary for. He's then sent to a maximum security place in Ohio, and he was meant to remain there until his 21st birthday. So I guess that's when he's an adult and they're like, go on, piss off now. But his good behaviour led to him being released in May 1954, and he went to live with his aunt and uncle. Mm-hmm. He then gets married. 1955, he marries a waitress called Rosalie, who is a hospital waitress.
Yes, so she worked locally at a cafe. Her name was Rosalie Jean Willis. Now, when they're first married, he sort of calms and settles a little bit. And he gets a kind of normal job, has sort of a quiet life. And then he says to Rosie, listen, I really think we should live in LA. I think there'll be great opportunities for us there. So he steals a car. Mm-hmm. And then he drives them across the country to go and live in LA. He got caught, of course, and he got sentenced to 3 years in San Pedro, Terminal Island in California. Ooh. And while he was in prison there, his Rosalie was like, yeah, I have met someone else and I am going to divorce you. And he found that out. He tried to escape to... I don't think it was to win her back. I think it was to exact revenge. Because he was already quite big on revenge. I missed this from his childhood, but there's a story one of his cousins tells about... They sort of have an altercation. This is a girl cousin, by the way. And they're sort of having an argument about something. And he threatens her with a scythe, or sickle, and he cuts through the door to get to her. So basically, it was Joanne, the one whose dress he was made to wear. Mm-hmm. He found a sickle and he took it into her room and stopped her from getting out. And she was like, move. And he said, make me. And so she shoved him out and shut the screen door, and it really wound him up. So he slashed through the screen. Ooh. And she was like, oh, if I'd have been in there long enough, he would have used it on me as well. So I think that when he found out about Rosalie and this other guy, he was going out to either attack her or the guy or both. So he got caught when he was trying to escape, and that means that it affects his parole. So he's finally released from prison and he started working as a pimp. And the only reason he was caught is because he was trying to forge a cheque for $43. Lots of the amounts in this story are quite, even at the time, they're quite low amounts. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes to his mum going to prison, it was over $27. So he's arrested for this forgery and he's given a 10-year suspended sentence and probation. So he moves in with a woman that he was selling for sex, or pimping. I know to say sex worker, but I don't know what you say about a pimp. I don't know, because I'm like, oh, should I be saying pimping? Like, because I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but I also don't think that pimps are people. I don't think that we should be worrying
about the correct term for a pimp.
So she moves in. He moves in with her in New Mexico, and then he's again arrested, and he gets charged, this time in Texas, for violating his probation. So he gets sent back to LA, and they're like, right, well, you've got to do this 10-year sentence. You were on probation, it was a suspended sentence, now it is happening. So July 1961, he's transferred from the LA County Jail to the United States Penitentiary at McNeil Island in Washington. Mm-hmm. So that is where he is. That brings us up to 1961.
And then what does he do next? That'll be next episode, won't it?
Aye.
What does he do?
Yes.
Oh, I wonder.
Why are we talking about him? So, yeah, we're up to basically the end of his childhood.
So, yeah, childhood ended.
Yeah.
So next episode will be his cult activities.
Yes, and we are talking about the time that he wrote for the Beach Boys, which is absolutely fucking mad.
So that's the first episode of Charles Manson.
Yes, we hope you're having a nice Christmas. We hope that you are with people you love, even if that is yourself and or your pets. And we hope that you are safe and happy. Anything else? Pay your invoices.
Pay your invoices. What else? Anything coming up? If you want to buy tickets for my tour, they're on sale now. If you want to come to Newcastle, Leeds, or somewhere else that I can't remember off the top of my head, be quick because they look like they're going to sell out. To everyone that has said, I can't believe you not brought your show to Manchester. I did. I brought it there first. But, whatever. I always bring it to you first. And it has been there. It was there as the first date of the tour. But sadly, it's not coming back because it's been done. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. So nothing cheers me up. I mean, I've been a right narc today, but nothing cheers me up more than someone who isn't from Manchester telling me that I'm a cunt for not bringing my show to Manchester when I have brought my show to Manchester. But that's fine. Come and buy tickets. Newcastle should be fun. That's nearly sold out. Glasgow is my favourite, so buy tickets for that. We've got, Christmas show. We won't have done. Will we have done that by this goes out?
I think this is going to go out fairly soonish. So there's still a few tickets left for the early Christmas show.
Yes.
If you want to come and join us, you can get day drunk with us.
Yeah, on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, yeah,
Right,
and it
isn't
also
it?
means that you can get back home. Right, is our thought.
Yeah, that'll
Get
be
back on the trains,
and that's at Birmingham, so that's on sale now.
Yes, on sale right now. We'll have some bits of merch there as well. I might bring some bum bags even. And my final tour date is been moved. Sorry about that. It's now January the 23rd at Norwich Theatre, and there's not loads of tickets left for that, actually. There was some more released because not everyone could move their tickets over, so there's some absolutely belting seats now if you want to go and snap them up. And we will see you very soon for the second part of Charles Manson.
Yes.
Bye!